Hey, Giants, and welcome back to another week. So today we're going to continue to talk about transformations. However, sometimes our transformations will kind of just occur on like a generic f of x graph. Okay, so turn this page 2.5b. Today's lesson is pretty short, but if we look here at this graph, we don't exactly know what it represents, but we know that this is the graph of y equals f of x, some function with respect to x. If we plug in an x, we get a y value. Okay, so now our new graph, we want it to match this, y equals f of x minus 3 plus 2. So hopefully you guys know if it's inside the parentheses, that deals with it moving left and right. And in our case, when it's x minus 3, remember, left and right horizontally is the opposite. So that's going to be right 3. And then plus 2 at the end means it goes up 2. So the whole thing is going to move up 2. Now, it's kind of hard maybe to visualize this, but we want this whole thing to shift right 3 and up 2. So what I recommend you do is worry about, there's 4 points here that are crucial for us, okay? At this point, this point, this point, and this point. We need all of those to move, okay? And then if we move those 4 points correctly, we can just draw straight lines between, and we'll have the rest of our graph. Now, one thing I want to point out here is on this graph, it is by twos. What I mean is the graph is by twos, but notice there are 4 marks in between there. So the faint marks are every half unit, okay, but then they identify it with a solid mark every 2 units, okay? So just be aware when we're going right 3, we want to shift the entire thing 3 full units to the right, not just 1.5, which would be 3 of these boxes. So right 3 up 2. So we can choose any of these points to start with. I'm going to start with the point. So let me erase those just so I can show you what I'm doing. I'm going to start with this point right here. So if I go right 3, and I'll do it with my cursor, that's over 1, 2, but that's actually over 1, then over 2, and then over 3. It was at -5, now it's at -2. Okay, then it's up 2. Now be careful. Up 2, it was just below 0. Now it's going to be 1 below 2. Okay, so it will be right here. If you have trouble doing that, remember to go up 2 from 0 to 2, it's up 1, 2, 3, 4 boxes. So in our case, it was here up 1, 2, 3, 4 boxes, because remember, each of those boxes simply represents a half a unit. So we know this point is where the first point will end up. Okay, now to do that second point, it started here, and I want it to move right 3 again and up 2. So 1, 2, 3. Now this one's pretty easy. It was at -2, so if we move it up to 0, and right here is where it will go. All right, the same way, this point is at 2, so right 3, 1, 2, 3, and then up 2, it will end up right about here. And then our final point, it started here. And this one, we gotta kind of estimate a little bit. It was more than 3, less than 3.5, somewhere in between, okay? So just a little over 3, but a little less than 3.5. Now it was at 4, so we know it's gonna go over here to 7. And then if we go up 2, we know it will end up somewhere around there. And just to double check, it was more than 3, less than 3.5. We added 2, so it should be more than 5, less than 5.5, and that's where it's in. Okay, so now grab a straight edge if you have it. Do your best, draw a straight line. We want to connect each of those, so I'm going to lay my screen flat so I can do this a little better, but oops. All right, I guess when my screen is flat, it doesn't let me write, so let me So we got that one, then we draw this in. And there we go. And obviously my graph is not perfect, but you can see the general shape is the same. If I grab that and I shift it up to the right, so from here and I shift it up, it looks the same. That line I could have done a better job on. So what I strongly recommend you do is pause the video in just a second and try this second one. Now, I do want to point something out. I made a mistake here in that the end of this graph is at -5. As we move it, part of it is going to go off the graph. Okay, so that is something you need to worry about here. Just do what you can. If you want, start with this point and graph that part, and then we can add this on at the end. So if I were you, I'd pause it and try this. Once again, today's lesson is very short, so I'd pause it, give it a try. Okay. So now, hopefully you've tried it on your own. If we look down here, x plus 4, remember plus 4 actually means left, so left 4, and then it's going to be up 3. So if we go left 4, this is what I was talking about before. This point is at the point 5. If I go left 4, it's going to end up over here at 9. That's a problem. That's off our graph. We can't graph it. Okay. However, -4 here, I could start with this point. So our function will look a little different, but it still exists. It'll just be off the graph. So I'm going to start with that point because if I shift that over 4, it'll end up right on the border here. Okay, and it's left 4, up 3. That point was at 4, 1. So left 4, then up 3. It will end up here at, it was at -4, 1, and now it's going to be at -8, 4. All right, so that's our first point there. Now this next one was at -2, 0. So left 4 will end up at -6. Up 3 will end up at -6, 3 here. Oops, I gotta switch that. Okay, so that takes care of this chunk. And granted, it looks a lot smaller, but that's because it is. This part where my marker is covering up isn't represented because it'd be over here. Okay? Now, down here at -4, or 0, -4. So it's left 4, so it's going to be at -4. Up 3 will come up here to -4, -1. And then our final point over here, it was at 3, 2. We're going to go left 4, so we'll be at -1. And then it's up 3, so -1, 5. All right, from here now, we draw in our lines. And from here, we are done. It does look a little goofy because technically this line will keep going, so it would match exactly, but it's the same function. So what I'd like you to do now, there is a Desmos activity. It's a little bit challenging. See what you can do. We are going to go over this again on Wednesday, so those who are in class today will go over it with me. So those of you at home, try it on your own, and then on Wednesday we'll talk about it again and maybe redo it if we need some help. But see what you can do. Experiment with it a little bit. See what you can figure out. And if you have any questions or need any help, please let me know. Just a reminder, our test is coming up on Friday. Okay, so Friday the 25th is when the Chapter 2 test will be. So hope you guys have a great day, and I'll talk to you later.